Hello and welcome back to the EMS Handoff podcast. It's David with my co-host Bradley Dean. On the far side, we welcome to our first guest of the 2023 TIMSA annual conference. We have Becky Null from the Tennesse Disaster Mental Health Sctrike Team. And we're going to talk a little bit about mental health. So Becky, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to us.
I am an EMT firefighter and also lieutenant for Wilson County Emergency Management Agency. I've been there for almost 22 years. I've been in the profession for 23 years. I've been started learning about mental health about 15, 16 years ago and debriefings and how to help coworkers and people in mental health and emergency services. My department is a cross-trained department of fire EMS, rescue, hazmat. So we kind of do a little bit of everything. Basically, I tell everybody we do everything except law enforcement. But I'm on the Tennesse Disaster Mental Health Sctrike Team. Basically, the team has been around for about 5 years. I've been on it for 3 years. We have personnel across the entire state, every corner, every side, every direction of Tennessee. The team is consisted of police, fire, EMS personnel, and the team. Our focus is on emergency service personnel. Fire, EMS, military, or military sometimes, and law enforcement. Basically, we go to do debriefings after bad calls. We can travel all over the state, or if you live in East Tennessee, we try to get people in East Tennessee to do debriefings. But we can set up a debriefing with a team and a location and the department and timing, whatever works for their with their organization, and talk with the personnel that were involved in the call. Everything is very much confidential. We cannot talk about with anybody else outside of that was included in that debriefing. Confidentiality. We don't take notes. We don't share the information with anybody. The only record we keep is saying basically we do debriefing, the date and the location of the county, and that is it. That way we could turn it into the state and get credit for that. But no names or any detailed information is kept for the state.
And part of that anonymous nature is trying to change kind of the thought process of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
People think that, hey, if we have issues, people know about it, that changes. So we're trying to change the stigma about. So kind of talk a little bit about the stand-up of the mental health Sctrike Team. Why is mental health resilience something that is even important in our profession?
So, like you're saying, for the longest time, mental health, it's been suck it up, buttercup. This is part of your job. You should be taking this just fine, not bothering you.
If you have to ask for help, you're not a good provider.
Exactly.
That I've heard
very much. But mental health, we're definitely trying to push to teach people that that's not the way it is anymore. It's okay to ask for help because everybody tends to forget that we are just human. We're absolute human aspect of everything. We're going to have the emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly. And the biggest way that we can help teach this is to get out and provide information of mental health to personnel, to students, to people coming in the profession that have been in the profession short period of time or even a long period of time. This way, helping people with their mental health, especially in emergency services, can help with their life professionally and personally, because it will impact people at work and at home, whether can impact their family, their friends, how they react on calls, even normal mundane calls that we're used to. If you're really stressed, it can roll over to every aspect of your life, and it could be stressed out, and you can stress everybody else out.
For the longest time, PTSD was basically considered a military-only issue. They dealt with it. They started to employ resources to help, and now it's finally really starting to infiltrate our profession, and really takes a lot of us to say, hey, it's okay to need help,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also good to have organizations like this in case something happens. But so you all deal a lot with the acute crisis, so something comes up and you're coming up soon after that, so those first few hours to a couple days afterwards. So what does that process look like if you're a service within the state of Tennessee that is needing to gain those resources? So I've had something happen. I know my people need help.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from there?
So you have several options. If you know somebody that's on the team, you can directly call them. Like those that know me can directly call me, and I can give the information of setting up a location, time, and then I will contact our dispatcher through our team. And with this way, we can get more personnel in because we have a certain amount of personnel on the team that is we need for debriefing. So it depends on if you have 4 people in the debriefing as opposed to 20, we need more team members. So they will contact us if they don't have direct contact us. We have a phone number that we can give to them, or I try to pass all this information here at the conference, and they contact this number, and it's a 24-hour number, and they'll get all the information and help set up a debriefing. And the organization that has requested our help, they will pass out the information to those personnel, and then we will meet with them and set up and do a debriefing. Usually takes on average 1 to 2 hours. It can be a little bit more, it could be a little less. It depends on how everything's going.
So, in addition to that, because we all know that in the middle of a crisis, it may not always be the ideal mindset for people to remember stuff. But my understanding is too, they should be able to reach out through their RMCC or their dispatch centers to get a hold of access like this as well. They should have that. Is that correct?
Should
okay.
That doesn't always work like that. Like I said, we're trying to get this information
Right.
out because the biggest challenge that we have about this team is not a lot of people know about it yet. So me being here at this conference and passing this information out and sharing about the team, our the organization, our team is under the Tennessee Federation of Fire Chaplains. And so you go on their website and you can see more information about the team and contact information. And that way we can get everything set and organized.
And one of the key things, and I know a lot of individuals in the Tennessee Federated Chaplains Association, but one of the key things is that this is not necessarily a religious aspect. This is mental health counseling in the post incident. That's just where it falls, because they've been involved with the mental health resilience for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'll go ahead and say back when I first got into the profession, I was still a young rookie, and we had a firefighter fatality, and one of the individuals that's involved in the organization now and helping lead was part of that. And it's amazing the difference once you go through an event and understand the counseling portion after it. It's dramatic difference to understand, and you don't even know everything that you're going through at that point in time.
Correct.
And I love, there's some things like our goal is to get you to talk about it without reliving it.
Yes.
And in our profession, we have to look at, everybody thinks about it as a singular incident. I go out on this call, and that call may be bad, but it's the month, year, 10 years, 20 years that you've been on that are going to help exacerbate that or make that worse. So they contact you, they get you. What does a typical, I know there's not a typical, but what is a typical response kind of, they come in, they talk to you, what does that process look like? So disarming, open, those kind of things.
Yes. So our location that we prefer is going to be just a closed area, no windows, no distractions. Doesn't always work like that, but we try our best. That way we don't have windows around, distractions outside, or people coming in and out all the time. And we'll put chairs in a circle. That way we're all looking at each other. Nobody's above or below anybody. And our team we're spread out in the circle, not where the team is all on one side and everybody else is on the other side. So yeah, we're going to sit in a circle and we're going to introduce ourselves, introduce our team, explain the the rules of talking about confidentiality, no phones or anything like that. And then an entire debriefing is strictly a guided conversation. Most debriefings are very different, but we still have a path that we follow on every single debriefing to make sure that it still goes in the direction that we want, and let people talk as they want. If they want, the only time we ask anybody to definitely talk is to introduce themselves. But other than that, and to tell what their role was. But other than that, we don't force anybody to talk. To even come to a debriefing, it is not some people try to, I've heard departments like, well, I'm requiring my people to do this. It's like, we cannot require anybody to do this. It's not how it works. People are not going to be open to explain and talk to us. So it's all voluntary for them to come and join the debriefing. And like I said, it'll last possibly 1, 2, or more hours if necessary.
And so I'm out there and I have a desire to help in situations like this. How would I get involved and to come and help with the strike team?
So you can go on the Tennessee Federation Fire Chaplains website and pull up the Crisis Response Network. There's a tab on it, and it has information about the team. And at the bottom, or in one spot, there's you click where it says application, and you fill it out. And there's mandatory training at the very beginning, or it's usually January, February. It's a week long down the State Fire Academy. And but when you fill out the application, you also have a interview, and you'll do that on the phone with a couple other people on the team. So you have the application, a resume, a copy of certificates that you may have, that especially if it's in mental health, and basically so they can see where you're at. And then if you get accepted onto the team, that's when you do the week-long training down in the fire academy.
So I'm going to toss out a couple questions out there, which so if I want to do this, I have to have some sort of training in mental health counseling or resilience. Is that true?
No, false.
No. So I have to be involved in the EMS or fire service to do this.
No.
And really, I can't come up with anything else, because that's really the only objection that anybody should have, and we completely dispel that. So this is really something like, you have a passion for helping others.
Yes.
You have to have some empathy as well.
Yes.
So but other than that, if you're involved, if you want to be involved, then reach out through the association's website and put in your interest.
So most of the people that's actually on the team, like I said, we're fire, EMS, law enforcement. We also have mental health professionals, and we have chaplains. So it's not just emergency service personnel. Having a mental health background does help, but it's not required.
I actually just directed somebody to that just earlier this week, or actually at the end of last week, as a matter of fact, and got them hooked up with one of the chaplains to have that conversation. They should be meeting on Thursday or tomorrow, I believe. So
good.
So if you're interested, make sure and go. Bradley, do you have any?
Yeah. So one of the things I want to make sure people understand why this is important, because when you look at all the statistics and everything that's out there, you take an individual. Each individual is affected differently based on their previous experiences.
Yes.
So individuals, you may be with a group of individuals on a scene, it doesn't necessarily bother you, but it could bother somebody else.
Right.
So statistically, if you look at all the research that's out there, if you take 10 people who are involved in an incident, 3 of them are going to end up with some type of psychological distress. 2 of them are going to end up with depression over the event. And then roughly somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2 are going to end up with the potential or the setup for PTSD. So when you look at that, that is why I think we lose people at such a fast rate when we're dealing with a pandemic, when we're dealing with multiple incidences in a short period of time. We'll start to see people who exit the profession.
Mm-hmm.
And are they exiting because they're bettering themselves? That's one thing, because they're moving to another profession in the healthcare field, moving to the fire service. But the question is why are people leaving? And I really believe that mental health is one of those things.
Yes, very much so.
And we know that it's one of those things that the story is, we know that the earlier that we get assistance, the better off it's going to be. But again, we are there to help others. So the fact that we need help is not something we look at very strongly. But I think we need to look at ourselves first. I remember going through fire school that it was entrained what your order of priorities was. Me and my partner and our patient, me, partner, patient, bystanders, and then and it goes on from there. And I think that's key, even when we're looking here. Like we constantly look and evaluate risk versus reward when going into a burning building, or on the EMS side, do we go in a vehicle or not go in a vehicle? Because we don't want to get hurt. Because we know if we get hurt, you know, piece of metal shear off and slice her arm. So we can't help. Well, same thing with the mental health side. So we need to start taking that into account. Well, I saw some stuff, and you gave the statistics, and we've gone through the process. Like, you can request that. It's like, hey, I need help.
Right.
I need to talk to them.
And if you're in a position of leadership and somebody asks for it, make sure you get them help.
Right.
You know, don't say, well, everybody else says they're fine.
Yeah, and hey, there may be, like you said, you know, not everybody there, and it may not hit everybody on day one. So, you know, it may be some time after that. And I like, you know, when we talk about these situations where you get everybody together, you know, they've already got it and they're already looking for it in case it pops up, you know, a couple of days later. So, all right. Well, definitely go out and check out the Tennessee Federation of Fire Chaplains website. You can take a look at the Tennessee Disaster Mental Health Strike Team's information. If you're interested, reach out through there. Make sure that you all know how to get a hold of those resources. If you are a leader or supervisor or just an individual that's passionate about it, make sure you know where to get those resources. We appreciate your time. And thank you for bringing this topic to us. You all, we will be coming back to you with some more interviews here in the near future. Whether we get the names right or not, Bradley's a different story. You know, you never know what's going to happen here. So until the next episode, remain calm in your EMS handoff.